All right, well, thank you very much. So right now we're gonna switch gears a little bit from the ERP and let's talk about dynamic CRM. And the interesting thing about CRM is that it's no longer a glorified Rolodex, right? CRM is so much more. So let's go ahead and deep dive into what its features and functionalities are. And so in the past, if you ever looked at a customer relationship management system, it was based on really these rich customer profiles, being able to look at the information about your accounts, your contacts, and then creating some functionality around managing those. But CRM today is completely different, and it works with all verticals of industry. From sales management, the automation of the pipeline, going all the way from lead management to opportunities. If you want to keep track of all your suspects and prospects and those type of leads, moving them into the accounts and contacts, it can manage all those things for you. Forecasting revenue and looking at data in a different way. CRM is really tailored to present the information to you to make more informed business decisions. From a marketing perspective, there's campaign management. You can do segmented audiences, really engage your clients and gather the feedback that you need so that you can get a pulse of how's it going with them from your perspective. And outside of the sales and marketing components, CRM, thinking about it just beyond that, it can get into service and, like field service management, and, getting, the ability to do cases and looking at feedback and loyalty programs and really trying to drive into, ensuring that the work that needs to be done is done, managing that work, and then looking at the analytical reporting. And talking about analytics, there's a deep integration to Power BI. There's also built-in real-time dashboards and predictive insights using Copilot. And I know that there was a question about licensing with Copilot. So natively within Dynamic CRM, there are some subsets of free licensing that's given to you to ask informed questions, and it'll aggregate it and give you the response back. But Microsoft Dynamic CRM also has Copilot for sales and Copilot for service. And what those do, it's a pretty slick application where, suppose you're using Copilot for sales, before a meeting with a client, it will automatically give you a recap of all the conversations that have been taking place, insights into where the customer is. It'll look in the emails and determine what conversations have taken place. So it gives you all that information right up front. So when you walk in the door, you can start having those conversations without waiting for the information from coworkers. As long as they put it in the system, it'd be right at your fingertips, which is really super powerful. And I said about the tailored, the tailored fit for any verticals. When we look at CRM for sales and marketing and also service, well, we've extended CRM to be whatever you want. We have one client that we built what's called the IT Nexus, and their requirement was, I have all these, decentralized IT systems that I want to see in an aggregated form. We were able to bring in Microsoft Intune, which is a device management data. We were bringing in into Microsoft Intune Microsoft Entra, which is for identity services, bringing in Microsoft licensing, all into one dashboard. And then the individual could see, hey, here's my licenses that are going to expire. Here's the groups that people are in, and maybe they want to look at it from a security perspective. But are there any changes that need to take place? When are my devices up for life cycle and so forth? And that has nothing to do with sales and marketing. Has nothing really to do with service in terms of case management, knowledge base, and so forth. It was about creating screens and interfaces for them so they can manage the data that makes sense mostly for them. Now, I wanted to give you just a little sample of what Dynamic CRM could look like. And one of the things that's really important is it's highly configurable and customizable. Right out of the box, it uses Power Platform, which I'll talk about a little bit. But using Power Apps, you can configure the screens, and on the left-hand side is what a sample of CRM would look like. This is looking at a contact. You can also look at accounts and so forth. But the great thing about CRM is that it displays the information that's most important to you. So when we sit down and have a discussion about your requirements, we're going to look at each of the screens. And suppose that you're looking at the contacts, what this screen is doing. We were going to ask you, what's important for you to see? And maybe it's not just the demographics. Maybe you want to see something about that person. eye color, as an example, hypothetically. You know, you could put that on there and track that, and then you could create workflows that when you open it can remind you, hey, this customer meets this criteria. You may want to follow up with them for X, Y reasons. The analytical dashboarding that's available within Dynamics CRM natively has KPI capabilities, drill down, and you know the data is really what you have. So you know when you're looking to make data-driven decisions, it's based on the information that you put in. So the more information that you collect in CRM, the more the reporting will align to what those needs are. And talking about insights, you know, either using Copilots or the Sales Accelerator that's built into CRM, you know, you can do things like lead scoring, which you see on the bottom right here. And lead scoring is a predictive analytic that says that based on a certain criteria, how do you gauge from a grade A to F how this client is going to you know, move forward. And in this example, they have a strong financial industry, they subscribe to your services, but their budget's a little lower. But when you look at it from a more a holistical perspective across the board, you can then kind of put people together and how's my A's, my B's, my C's, are they hot, are they cool, are they cold, right? And so you can leverage the information and get really utilize the data for more data-driven decisions based on the information collected. Now with Dynamics CRM, they have a lot of functionality, and I think the easiest way to say it's like a Swiss Army knife, right? It has all these different gadgets for the things that you need, from sales management to customer service to field service. You know, if you want to do technician scheduling and routing, you want to maybe have mobile like teleworkers that they can put in their information, update the CRM. There's a deep analytics and reporting capability, not just within the CRM, but also you leveraging the Power Platform, Power BI, the business intelligence system, to be able to pull and generate more reporting capabilities out of that. The workflow automation, I'm going to talk about that in just in a few minutes. And the customizations are, you know, whatever you need it to be. And it's a very configurable and customizable interface to work through the Power Platform. But the integration, and Mike kind of touched on this a little bit, the integration to the third-party apps is where the power of the CRM comes in. And so, for instance, if you have within the Dynamics 365, you have your Business Central and CRM, Mike talked about how that data can be transferred back and forth. And you know, I think that when you look at that native integration, it's about asynchronous and synchronous data. It's about direction, right? What kind of information do I want to send out? And so if you were, your finance team is working in Business Central, you have your customers, your contacts, your products, your quotes, and so forth. Well, there may be things that need to generate from there that only feed to your sales team within CRM. And maybe those are just products or invoices. You don't want them to manipulate them, you just want them to view them. And so you can make those directional decisions based on the integration that you have. And all of this can be scheduled from minutes to hours to days to weeks to months to years. The schedule within the Power Platform is very flexible, and it could be almost near real time where something is put in BC and it integrates over to CRM. Now, the Power Platform is a really important part of CRM, but it's also a really important part of BC, or the Microsoft 365 suite. Because the Power Platform, which is highlighted here in the middle, these are tools that allow you to do further development in terms of your business analytics, your application development, your process automation, and Mike was talking about your AI builders, your virtual agents. Okay, and the thing about the Power Platform is it's kind of agnostic to systems, right? If you pull in from Microsoft 365, I can get data from BC and CRM and use it for some purpose. I can go into Office 365, I can go into SharePoint and Teams and OneDrive, and I can get information, or I can even export to an Excel sheet from the Power Platform and utilize it in a different way. I have the capabilities within the Power Platform to talk to Microsoft Azure services, as well as if you have on-premise data and applications, you can leverage the Power Platform to talk to those on-premise devices and do activities. And those are kind of some of the flow examples that I have on the right. And all these Power Platforms use data connectors, and there's storage within the Dataverse that you can leverage the data. But if you were looking at examples using Power Automate, you could say in CRM, for instance, when a new lead is created, what would you like it to do? And this would be all based on your business process. You could send a welcome email, you can assign a lead to a rep, you could create a follow-up task within CRM, and all of those pieces make up your business process. And one of the things that we do at Intelitech is, we do a lot of BPMs, business process management, and we'll sit down with you and say, let's look at your as-is environment today and where you want it to be. And we'll help you identify where those gaps are or manual processes and look to ways to automate it utilizing these services. And the data synchronization across systems is really important because, again, I said that Power Platform is pretty agnostic. It doesn't matter what system you're talking to. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at Business Central or CRM, SharePoint, Excel, or even a file that's on a workstation, that has the capabilities to go in and get the data, and then you can do different activities with that. So I can understand why Microsoft called it the Power Platform, because itself is a powerful device and applications that you can leverage to extend and utilize within your environment. So when we're talking about, this is the slide we've been talking about, the Dynamics 365 is on the bottom left-hand corner. We talked about Microsoft Azure. Right now we're talking about Power Platform. And I wanted to search for one word that I thought, could represent the Power Platform and what you could do. And I found empowering. And I think that's a really accurate representation. Within the Power Platform, it's a low-code solution. So you don't need the expertise of a developer to develop the flows to grab data and transform it and move it to another location. It's a pretty intuitive system. If you get more more in depth, then it's not so much about writing code, it's about understanding the business activities and then creating those activities to the flow itself. And it's extensible and extendable. And by utilizing Power Automate, I can also then take the data that I get and move it to Power Apps and build an application to maybe collect information about, we have clients that, have bins and lots and they want to change it, but they want to do it for the individuals in the floor. We give them a web page, they change it, it goes to the Power Platform, it goes back into their ERP, and now you have a different way to get data in and out of your system. And as an example, this is an integration that we built for BC to CRM, and it has to do with sales invoicing. Now, there is a native integration that can take place, but when you integrate data, you're physically moving data from one system to another. What this client wanted is they wanted their sales team to be able to see the data within CRM, but not actually have that data move over from BC. And so the example here, and we're not going to get technical, but what on the right-hand side, this section over here, this is the flow that's created within Power Automate, where what it does is it creates a connection into Business Central, it grabs the data, and then it does an activity, something that you want to do. And on the right-hand side here, this is just an export of what the data is. Now, for anybody that's on the call that works with data, if you have a set of raw data, the question is, what can you do with it? And in this case, what we did is we took the data and brought it into Power Apps. So it came in from Power Automate, grabbed the data from BC. We made a Power App through Canvas and displayed the information about the invoice to be displayed within CRM. And that made it so that it's a real-time view for the salespeople into BC gathering the data. And if you're doing GP or SL invoicing today, the reality is that you may be using transaction import, as Mike said, integration manager or Smart Connect. Well, you could leverage Power Automate to do the same things. And Power Automate in itself is like, they call them ETLs, extract, transform, and load. And what it could do is go in, get the data, and then massage it, and then do something with it, put it somewhere. It can put it into a SharePoint list, it can create a file for import, it can actually import into a SQL database if you so choose. So really, really powerful technology here, low code, right? Not a developer's needed. You build the interfaces, and then you transform the data to do what needs to be done. And I wanted to think about Dynamics CRM in terms of what it is. And when you're unifying sales and service, and you think about what you could do with the workflow automation, it's really a strategic advantage to your business process, right? And so Dynamics CRM has transformed and matured from a system that was managing accounts and contacts to having all these tentacles and all these systems to bring it back to be able to make informed decisions with your business data. Now, Rick had kind of mentioned this, Intellitek's solution is about, our basis was about ERP, but we have a lot of other services, and if interested, feel free to give us a call. And we've talked about Azure Cloud Services. If you want to do a lift and shift, you want to talk about data and storage considerations, security compliance, we can talk to you about those solutions. Same thing with Dynamics 365 CRM for sales automation, marketing, and so forth. The systems are very configurable and customizable to meet your needs. But in Intellitek, we also do Microsoft 365 productivity. So if you're using the 365 suite, being at Microsoft Teams, Exchange Online, SharePoint, Microsoft Intune for device management, we have expertise in-house to help you manage that or integrate those into your systems. And we also have CTO, like virtual CTO advisory services, and this is like an augmented service. This is not intended to replace, your teams, your IT teams. It's really to work with them, a partnership where we can look at IT strategy, do some, assessments of your architecture, talk about digital transformation, even governance and risk management, and come up with strategies to strengthen in this case, your security posture. And so all these services are available, and many of these are outside of the ERP that Intellitek is known for, but I wanted to mention that these services are available, and should anybody like to have further conversations, please give us a call and we will certainly schedule time to discuss.